Hi, Dr. Bill Davison here with another one of our video blogs, newsletters, and today we're going to talk about transforming your gut with kefir, spelled Kefir, but pronounced kefir. So what is kefir? Well, it's been called a grain, or kefir grains it's described, and in fact it's also been described as a SCOBY. But in reality, it's a culture, a bit like acidophilus that is used in yogurt, which everybody by now I'm sure is aware of, how acidophilus is a live bacterial culture that helps the function of the gut, helps the gut to stay healthy, keep the pathogens or the negative microorganisms under control, and all the other things that happen in your gut. So kefir is actually a bacteria, beneficial yeast, and probiotic mix, and it's been used in Russia for many, many years, and obviously becoming more and more popular in the West. You only have to look even in the supermarkets now with a lot of kefir products there. So it's a culture that is very beneficial for your gut, and whereas that in and of itself is good, but research is now showing how your gut health can actually affect your brain function and even your immune system, have they all interconnected. And if you stop and think about it, that everything really begins with your digestion. So your body needs food, obviously, for fuel, but also to renew itself. It needs the raw materials to carry on all its functions, biochemical functions, but also to repair itself. So, as you know, you obviously die if you don't eat food. Simple comment there. But so it's not just about what you put in your mouth that happens, it's what actually gets into your cells. And there are a lot of processes that must take place before what you put in your mouth actually gets into your cells, providing that you're eating what the cell needs and not rubbish or other things that the cell doesn't need, or even that may be harmful to your body. So your digestive system is really the first stage or the first step of every other function in your body. And if your digestion is impaired or not working properly, then obviously you can have a cascade or a domino effect throughout the whole system. So yes, your bowel is very important. It's not your bowel, your digestive system, which we often just call the gut, but your digestive system is where you break down your food and where it's absorbed into your bloodstream to be transported throughout your body. So kefir, like other cultures, like sauerkraut, other fermented products, like kombucha, all may have a beneficial effect on your gut function. With the kefir, there are two kinds of kefir. One is a milk base, where the kefir feeds on the lactose, which is the milk sugar, and you actually, to get started, you either get some from somebody who already has some, because when you grow it yourself, it actually grows and multiplies, and very soon you'll have more than you need for your uses, and so you can then give it away to somebody else. So there's the milk kefir, and of course you can use the cow's milk is the best milk to use, organic if you can get it, because of the what's in the milk. You can use goat's milk or sheep's milk, even coconut milk or oat milk may help, but the kefir feeds better on the cow's milk than on the other milks. But there's nothing wrong with experimenting or even doing a mix of the two. So if you have a problem with dairy or cow's milk, then there's nothing stopping you from using goat's or sheep's milk or others. But just be aware that the kefir thrives better, performs better, supposedly on the cow's milk because of the different nature of the milk. The other form of kefir is water kefir, which I personally use because I find it's easier and I can mix things with it and use it more readily in my daily routine. Ideally, I suppose I should use both, but it does take a little bit of time. So what you do is you either buy a culture, and there are various companies on the website that will sell you kefir. The one that I got mine from was nourishmeorganics.com.au, which I can highly recommend. And on nourishmeorganics.com.au, there's a lot of education on kefir and different videos showing you how to make it, etc. But when you buy it, it comes with the instructions, which is fairly simple. But there's also a lot of other helpful information in their podcasts that they have. Some really good stuff, which I'll mention in some other blogs that I'll do later. So the water kefir, you get the culture, and these are all in the instructions. I'm just going to mention it briefly. You put about 500 mils of water in there, 3 teaspoons of sugar, and they recommend the Rapadura sugar, which is a better quality sugar, which the kefir prefers its sugars. So you've got the 3 teaspoons of sugar. You've got a half a teaspoon of molasses. Molasses is very rich in minerals, especially trace minerals. Molasses is the byproduct of when sugar is produced, so to purify it. So all of those minerals and all the other nutrients from the sugar plant, the sugar cane or whatever, is left in the molasses. So a half a teaspoon of molasses goes in there too. A pinch of bicarb of soda because it prefers an alkaline medium, and also a little bit of salt. I also sneak in a little bit of trace minerals in there, maybe half a teaspoon of trace minerals, and you can put a slice of lemon in there too. So usually you do your mixture first before you put the kefir grains in, so that you don't disturb them too much. And once you've got it all stirred and dissolved, you put the kefir grains in the mix in the jar, and you can use an ordinary jar, or you can buy a special kefir mixer, but an ordinary jar will do fine. You don't put the jar on, you don't put it on tight, you keep it a little bit loose so it can breathe, and because it produces a gas anyway. And you leave it from anywhere to from 1 to 3 days. If you use it after 1 day, it's going to taste sweeter. If you use it after 3 days, it's going to taste more sour, because what the culture does, it feeds off the sugar in there. So the sooner you use it, the little bit of sugar left in, and the later you use it, the less sugar that's in there. Now, just a point on the sugar while I think of it. Many years ago, I was doing the kombucha plant. I was growing kombucha. I was using that. And eventually I got a sugar and yeast reaction from using that, because I have a yeast and sugar sensitivity. And so after quite a while, I got a reaction to the kombucha. So I had to stop using that. Now, interestingly, whenever I use a sugar product, which is rare, but whenever I use something, even a pear, if I had a pear in the morning, I'd get a head swim from the sugar reaction. So I have to be very careful what I put into my body first thing in the morning, because if it's too sweet, like a carbohydrate, I can get a sugar reaction. But interestingly, when I use the kefir first thing in the morning, I get no reaction at all. So I know there's no sugar in there, but then I leave mine 3 days. And interestingly, when I first got my first batch and I was brewing it, culturing it, a better word, I would sometimes leave it too long because I'd forget. And sometimes I left it for 4 days, and then another 4 days, another 4 days, and it died because it runs out of food. So it is a little bit trial and error. You don't put it in the fridge until you've finished brewing it and culturing it. So after 3 days, you can put it in the fridge. Start off with a tablespoon, increase by a tablespoon daily until you get to a level that is right for you. I have half a glass a day. My wife is what's best for her is quarter of a glass because we test her. And interestingly, with my wife, Heather, she had a gut problem that we tried everything to fix, and she was still left with these bubbles she'd say at night. She'd get discomfort and bubbles in her stomach, bubbles. That was her term. And so it used to stop her getting to sleep. After she'd been on the Kefir for a few weeks, no bubbles. It's the only thing that's ever helped her with that digestive problem. So we're recommending it to other patients a little bit early yet to tell, but we'll when we get some information, we'll report back on what the other patients, the results that they may be getting. So after 1 to 3 days, when you separate the liquid from the culture, then you can reuse the culture. And again, you add the water and the sugar and the molasses, etc. What you can do then is either start using it, or, which is what I do, you can put in a small amount of juice, like I'll put a juice of a lemon or a lime or an orange in there, and I'll leave it another couple of days. Then I put it in the fridge and start using it. So putting the fruit juice in just helps it to mature or ferment even further to make it stronger. So that's what I do. I brew my culture for about 3 days, and then I put the fruit juice in for another couple of days, and then I stick it in the fridge. Put the fruit juice in after I've separated the liquid from the culture. Culture goes separate and start again with the culture, whereas the liquid, the strain off the liquid, then I add the fruit juice to that. Leave that for a couple of days out of the fridge to ferment. Then I put it in the fridge, and sometimes you have to unscrew the cap to in case of fermenting you get too much gas. So I'm just going to check my notes quickly to make sure I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. I'm pretty sure I have. I mentioned the sauce. Just one other thing. Any of you who may be patients of mine who are watching this, if you'd like me to give you some culture, I'm happy to do that, but of course I can't supply everyone all at once because I can only supply as mine multiplies and gets to the point where I can actually give some away. So I hope that's helpful for you, and I encourage you to try it. Maybe the most important thing of all, how does it taste? I find the taste not unpleasant. Would I say it's pleasant? It's not unpleasant. It tastes okay to me, especially if you've had the fruit juice in. You can always add something to it if you want, sparkling apple juice or a bit more fruit juice. That's up to you. But that won't hurt it to do that. But yeah, so the taste is not a problem. And yeah, the children should have this as well. Obviously, you modify the dose. Children are usually half dose of adults, and infants a quarter dose. Just a teaspoon if you want to do that. Okay, this is Dr. Bill signing off, and I'll see you on our next video blog. Bye.